Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone who is watching our presentation recording. We are from Group 1 and today we are going to present about types and rules of stratigraphy and rock dating. But before that, let me introduce me and my team members. My name is Nur Alia Natasha binti Helmi.
My name is Diana Balkis binti Ahmad Rahiza.
And my name is Cempaka Kamalin Mastura binti Muhammad Faizan.
Alright, so for today's content, what we are going to talk about is first, types of stratigraphy, second, rules of stratigraphy, third, relative age dating, and last but not least, about absolute age dating. Without further ado, let's get started. I will start with the introduction first, okay? What does stratigraphy mean? What is also rock dating is about? Stratigraphy is the branch of geology that studies rock layers or strata and their arrangement in the Earth's crust. Rock dating is the process of determining the age of rocks and fossils. Why do we need to know about stratigraphy and rock dating? Before we delve deeper into stratigraphy and rock dating that will be explained by my friends later, I will share the importance in understanding stratigraphy and rock dating. First, it is important to reveal. First, it is important because first, revealing Earth's history. Stratigraphy and rock dating are fundamental because they help geoscientists decode Earth's history. Stratigraphy involves studying rock layers to understand the sequence of events over time, while rock dating, including relative and absolute methods, assign ages to these layers. Together, they allow scientists to construct precise geological timelines, climate changes, and major geological events like volcanic eruptions and mass extinctions. Apart from that, it also helps in studying ancient human civilizations, their environments, and historical changes. Second, the importance in understanding stratigraphy and rock dating is natural resource exploration. They help in locating essential resources like oil, gas, minerals, and groundwater, which support industries and daily life. Third, disaster prediction and mitigation. Studying rock layers and past events help scientists predict natural hazards like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and landslides. That helps in improving safety measures. Last but not least, paleontology and evolution. They provide a timeline for fossils, helping us to learn about the ancient life forms and how species, including humans, have evolved over time. I will pass the floor to my friend.
Alright, now we will look at the types of stratigraphy. Okay, so there are a lot of types of stratigraphy, but I have listed 7 types. The first one is biostratigraphy, which is the use of fossils to know the relative ages of rock and correlate successions to know the age of the strata. Second, lithostratigraphy, which classifies rock layers based on their lithology, which are the physical and mineralogical characteristics, and also the stratigraphic position. Third, magnetostratigraphy, which is a geophysical correlation technique used to date sedimentary rocks and volcanic sequence. Fourth, sequence stratigraphy, which is to use fossils to know the relative ages of rock and correlate successions. The fifth one is chemostratigraphy, which is the study of inorganic or organic chemical variations based on elements or isotopic composition of rocks. The sixth one is seismic stratigraphy, which is studying the subsurface based on seismic data acquisition. And last but not least, allostratigraphy, which is the study of rock units based on their bounding discontinuities, focusing on depositional sequences and unconformities. Next, I will pass on to my friend.
So now, we continue with rules of stratigraphy. Next slide. We start with Steno's law. Alright, so our first law is law of superposition. This law states that in an undisturbed sequence of sedimentary rock, the youngest layers are at the top and the oldest layers are at the bottom. Essentially, the layers of rock are deposited over time with newer sediment laying atop older ones. Imagine a stack of books. The top book represents the newest layer while the bottom one represents the oldest. This principle helps geologists establish the relative ages of different rock layers. And next is law of cross-cutting relationships. This law tells us that any geological feature like a fault, intrusion, or erosion surface that cuts through another feature must be younger than the feature it cuts. For instance, if an igneous intrusion cuts through a layer of sedimentary rock, we know the intrusion must have occurred after the sedimentary layer formed. Now, let's look at the law of original horizontality. Okay, for law of original horizontality, according to this law, sedimentary rocks are originally deposited in horizontal layers. Gravity causes sediment to settle in flat horizontal beds. However, if the layers are later found tilted or folded, this indicates the tectonic forces must have acted on them after they were deposited. Moving on, we have law of lateral continuity. So for law of lateral continuity, this law states that the layer of rock extend laterally, meaning they spread out horizontally until they encounter a barrier or any interrupted by erosion. Essentially, we can expect similar rock layers on either sides of a canyon or a mountain range, unless something has disrupted the continuity. And next, we have law of inclusion. This principle tells us that any rock fragments included in another rock layer must be older than the surrounding rock. For example, if a sandstone contains a piece of granite, the granite fragment must be older than the sandstone itself. And lastly, we will and lastly, we have law of faunal succession. This law states that the fossil appear in predictable order within rock layers, which helps geologists date the layers. Older fossils are found in deeper layers, while younger fossils appear in upper layers. By studying the fossils, we can also establish the relative ages of rock layers. Next, I will pass the floor to my friend.
Alright, we know what stratigraphy is. Now we will look at rock dating. The first type of rock dating is the relative dating. What is relative age dating? It is qualitatively dating rock formations based on stratigraphic sequence, and it does not provide actual numerical age or date. And most sedimentary beds are dated using this relative dating method because they do not meet the criteria for absolute or radiometric dating. So, before we start looking at the relative age dating, we have to know more about the geological time scale. What is the geological time scale? So, GTS is a chronological framework that divides Earth's 4.6 billion year history into four major divisions. The first division is eons. Eons is the largest division, which includes the Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic, and Phanerozoic eons. Hadean, Archean, and Proterozoic is also known as the Precambrian. And then eons is further divided up into eras. In eras, the Phanerozoic eon is divided into Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic eras. Next, we have periods and epochs. Each era is divided into periods and epochs, marking significant environmental and biological changes. Now, the key events that we can see through the geological timescale is first, in the Paleozoic era, we saw the first complex life, which includes fish and amphibians, and it is also known as the Cambrian life explosion, dating back to 541 million years ago. Next, the Mesozoic era, also known as the Age of Dinosaurs, where we can see the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous period. And lastly, the Cenozoic era, which is also known as the Age of Mammals, leading to the human evolution where we have today. Alright, so the first method of relative age dating is by using the index fossils. What is index fossils? Index fossils is the remains of species that lived for a short period but were widespread, and they are the most useful fossils to help determine the age of the rocks. What are the characteristics of a fossil that makes them an index fossils? First, they are limited stratigraphic range. Second, they have a widespread distribution. And third, they are found in many phases or environment. Now, the two examples of index fossils that I have here is the trilobite, which is on the left side of the screen. It is found in the Paleozoic era, and then we have the ammonite in the Mesozoic era. All right. Now, this follows the principle of final succession, which states that the fossil groups appear in a definite order, allowing rocks from different locations to be correlated. Older fossils are found in deeper layers, while younger fossils are in upper layers. Using fossils in these layers, we can know the age of a certain rock layer. Next, by matching the rock layers in different areas and also knowing the composition, geologists can correlate rock units and reconstruct Earth's history. So this method of relating rocks units from one locality to another is first we use to recognize the rock type and or sequence at two different locations, and second we use fossils to determine the time period of a rock where fossils succeed one another in a definite order just like final succession. Next, we use context. So context is boundaries between different rock layers or strata or geological units. There are a lot of different types of context, but I have listed three in here. The first one is depositional context, which is sediment layers is deposited over pre-existing rock. Second, fault context, where two units exposed by a fracture on which sliding has occurred. And third, intrusive context, where one rock body cuts across another rock body. Alright, last but not least, we have the unconformity. What is unconformity? Unconformity is an erosional or non-depositional surface that separates two different age strata, where deposition is not continuous. It represents a time when the rocks were not deposited or a time where rocks eroded. We have another term for it, which is hiatus, which means a time value of non-deposition or erosion. This means that the time has stopped for a while. Next, I will show you the types of unconformity. We have three types of unconformity, which are the angular unconformity, where rocks above and below the unconformity have different orientations system, which means they have different angles. Secondly, we have non-conformity, which is a type of unconformity between sedimentary rocks and non-sedimentary rocks, either igneous or metamorphic. And the third one is disconformity, which is a type of unconformity between sedimentary and sedimentary rock layers. Now, these are all the methods of relative age dating, but we can also use Steno's law to relatively age the rocks, just like Diana has explained before. Now, I will pass on to my friend Alia.
Alright, we've come to the last part of our presentation, rock dating part 2, which is about absolute age dating. Relative time allows scientists to tell the story of Earth events, but does not provide specific numeric ages, and thus the rate at which geologic processes operate. Because science advances as technology advances, the discovery of radioactivity in the late of 80s provided scientists with a new scientific tool called radiometric dating. Using this new technology, they could assign specific time units, in this case, to minerals grains within a rock. Using this new technology, they could assign specific time units in this case years to minerals grains within a rock. These numerical values are not dependent on comparison with other rocks such as with relative dating. So this dating method is called absolute dating. So as we can see on the slides right now, there are actually numerous types of absolute age dating. We have radiometric dating, which is actually the most common type of dating that we use in our real life. Apart from that, we also have other types of dating, which is named by dendrochronology, thermoluminescence, and fission track. So let us see here about radiometric dating. Radiometric dating is a scientific technique used to determine of the absolute age of rocks, minerals, and fossils. It is based on the radioactive decay of unstable isotopes into stable isotopes at a fixed rate, known as a half-life. By measuring the ratio of parent and daughter isotopes in a sample, scientists can calculate its age. Let us see examples of radiometric dating. We have the first one, carbon-14 dating method. So, what is actually carbon-14 dating method? So, what is actually carbon-14 dating method? Carbon-14 dating is a method used to determine the age of organic materials by measuring the decay of radioactive carbon-14 into nitrogen-14. This isotope is formed in the atmosphere by cosmic rays and incorporated into living organisms. So, the process is that carbon-14 is absorbed by plants during photosynthesis. Animals then eat plants will incorporate the radioactive carbon-14 and pass it along the food chain. When an organism dies, either the plants or the animals, no more carbon-14 is absorbed. As radioactive carbon-14 decays at a fixed rate to become nitrogen-14, the age of the sample can be determined. Next, we have potassium-argon dating. Potassium-argon dating uses the decay of potassium-40 to become argon-40 to date volcanic rocks from the time it was molten. The processes is the radioactive potassium-40 becomes trapped in the rock as it cools during the rock formation. Over time, potassium-40 decays into argon-40 at a predictable rate with a half-life of 1.3 billion years. However, it takes at least 200,000 years for enough argon to accumulate for accurate measurements. We also have the third one, uranium lead dating. Uranium lead dating is the method that uses two types of isotope, um, which is uranium-238 decays to form lead-206, and the second one using uranium-235 that decays to form lead-207. So the process is that uranium is incorporated into zircon crystals when they form in an igneous rock. Over time, uranium decays into lead, and measuring the ratio provides the rock's age. Therefore, if any lead is found in a zircon crystal, it can be assumed that it was produced from the decay of uranium. Zircon is resistant to weathering, which makes it useful for dating geological events in ancient rocks. Apart from the radiometric dating, we also have other methods such as, first, we can see here is about dendrochronology. What is dendrochronology? Dendrochronology is a tree-ring dating, that it is an absolute dating technique. How is it done? First, we can count and measure tree rings in a cross-section of the trunk. As we can see on the picture that is attached in the slide. Each ring is considered as 1 year of growth. The climate variations affect ring thickness. This method helps date living, dead, and fossilized trees up to 9,000 years old. Apart from that, we have luminescence dating, aka thermoluminescence. So what does it mean? This is a technique used to determine how long minerals like quartz have been buried by measuring trapped electrons. How does it work? First, minerals are exposed to radiation from the environment. Second, some electrons get trapped in the crystal structure. Later, when exposed to light or heat, these trapped electrons are released as luminescence, or we can understand as light emission. Scientists measure the amount of light released to calculate how long the minerals have been buried. So, this dating method can be used can use best for dating sediments less than 1 million years old. It also helps determine when sediment layers were last buried, especially near fault lines and earthquake-prone areas. Apart from that, we have fission track dating. What is it? Fission track dating is a dating technique that measures damaged tracks left in minerals by the decay of uranium-238. How does it work? Uranium-238 in minerals decays into thorium-234, releasing particles. These particles create tiny damaged tracks in the mineral's crystal structure. Then, the number of tracks counted under a microscope to determine the mineral's age. This dating method is useful to date minerals like apatite and zircon. It also useful for dating rocks between 100,000 years to 2 billion years old. It is often used as a secondary method to verify other dating techniques. So we have reached the conclusion. I will pass to Diana.
Everyone, so here is the conclusion. Next. Through stratigraphy and rock dating, we unlock Earth history from ancient life form to past climate changes. Techniques like carbon-14, potassium argon, and uranium-lead dating allow us to determine exact ages, while dendrochronology and fission track dating contribute to archaeology and climate studies. These methods are essential for paleontology, resource exploration, and understanding our planet's past. Alright, next. So thank you so much everyone for listening to our presentation. I hope you guys will have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.